The other gripe I have, Chun-Li. What's her favorite thing about Chun-Li? She's thick. She's got big old legs. I wanted a thick Chun-Li. Didn't get a thick Chun-Li. Very disappointed in my non-thick Chun-Li.
Remember when we first met John McClane? Argyle picked him up from the plane and took him down the Nakatomi Tower at the Christmas party. And the terrorists were overzealous, but it was sweet when they killed Ellis. And with a little help from Alan, John McClane kicked ass.
Welcome back to Shat the Movies, the podcast where we answer the question, were the movies we loved when we were growing up really that good? Have you ever caught yourself thinking, why don't they make movies like they used to? Can you still remember spending your Friday night searching for the perfect movie rental Blockbuster Video? Do you know what Blockbuster Video is? If you answered yes, this is the podcast for you. I am one of your hosts, Gene Lyons, and alongside me is my co-host, Big D, Dick Ebert.
Good evening.
And each week, we take a look back in time and decide if our favorite films still hold up. The movies we cover are chosen by you, the listeners, who generously commission the films you love. If you like some of the movies we have covered, will cover one, and choose one for yourself, please visit chatpod.com and have a look. At the end of each podcast, we'll provide you, the audience, with a number of wipes each movie takes to get off your respective butts. So thank you so much for listening. If you have not already, hit that subscribe button and share with a friend. It's how we help the podcast grow. Additionally, subscribe to our sister podcast, Shat on TV. Review TV series such as Westworld, Taboo, American Gods, Game of Thrones, True Detective, Lovecraft Country, and Watchmen. Find all our information and past episodes at shatpod.com/TV. And finally, if you'd like to hang out with us live, follow and subscribe to our Twitch channel, shatpod.com/Twitch, and our YouTube channel where we play video games, host watch parties, and edit this podcast live. All that being said, Big D, what movie are we reviewing tonight?
Gene, with the month of Jeremiah ending and all of his sci-fi classics out of the way, I think we're going back to our roots. Our roots were the schlocky B 80s and 90s movies that were just so bad they were good. So we're very excited. Wonderful supporter, James, an active member of the community, a kind soul who has commissioned a few other films before. He did SLC Punk. Then the gentleman he is, he contributed to get Tom from Texas, Best of the Best Part 3. He even threw in $10, Gene, to get King B, a good bar burger, and to get a drink when he commissioned the 1994 video game adaptation, Street Fighter. And he was kind enough to leave us a voicemail to describe why this commission would be something good for Shat and why it means a lot to him. So here's James. Yeah.
Gene, Big D. Hey, what's up, guys? It's James from Northwest Indiana calling in to talk about my upcoming commission for Street Fighter, the movie. Thank you again for taking on my commission, and also thank you just for all the good work you guys do and all the episodes you guys put out. So happy I was able to contribute for a second time and get this one in. So I don't remember what episode it was where Gene made the comment of someone please commission Street Fighter, the movie. It was a quick offhand thing, and I just remember thinking, I'm like, Gene gets it. I love Street Fighter, the movie. I remember being a kid, moving around a lot. I was an Air Force brat. I was always able to make a friend at a Street Fighter 2 arcade machine, dumped a lot of quarters into those machines. And when this movie came out in 94, I think I saw it at least 4 times. Absolutely loved it. Hasn't watched it since college, where we got a little inebriated one night and we watched a bunch of 90s video games, movies, Mortal Kombat, Mario Brothers, Double Dragon, which would be a cool commission, but just watched it tonight, just finished it now, and yeah, it's a movie. It's funnier than I remember. Definitely there were some good one-liners, but there were some really good casting decisions in this movie. Chun-Li, Zangief, Sagat, Vega, all stellar, and the piece de resistance, M. Bison. Raul Julia as M. Bison. Wow, what just pure cinema. Anyway, did it hold up? I think so. I enjoyed it. It was fun. There's some decisions that were made. A lot of weird EDR, and there's PAs with announcements everywhere, like every part of every scene, whether it's indoors, outdoors, whether it's a military base, a terrorist headquarters, or a weapons bazaar, somebody's providing announcements over a PA. It's a weird decision. Anyway, guys, I really hope you enjoy the movie. Raul Julia alone gets it around a 3, I think. So thanks again for taking my commission. Hope to do another one soon. Take care. Love you both.
James, based on the fact that we haven't done, I don't think, any other Raul Julia movies, it must have been a fighting movie. So I'm guessing it might have been during Mortal Kombat, but I'm not sure. But you mentioned being from Northwest Indiana, and that brought to mind exactly what kind of movie this is. Because when I was living in Ohio, my friends all lived in this little triangle, basically. It was Illinois, Michigan, and Indiana. Michiana, basically. Everybody had little moped shops in their towns, and we would gather, and it would just be some old garage or like a former brake shop or transmission shop or a wheel shop. And, you know, all the guys in town would get together. And in those towns, they're pretty cheap to rent out something like that. You'd always have an old CRT TV with like a VHS or DVD player connected to it. And there were movies that had to be interesting enough that they would catch your attention when you were taking a break from wrenching on something, but not so involved that you needed to pay very close attention to them for the entire narrative. In Street Fighter, that's one of those movies. Plus pretty much everything Nick Cage did in the 90s. This was on constantly, and it was something that you could just drop in at any time and go, holy shit, what is going on? It's entertaining, it's flashy, it's eye-catching, and I'm so glad that we shared appreciation for this gem.
And I think it'll be interesting because we always talk about how did it hold up. I'm wondering what the reception was. What was it like when it came out to really compare it? Because he said it's a movie. I think it's better than just a movie. I think it's uniquely positioned. I think they make some choices that you said that are unexpected. So the worst thing you can say about a film is if it is uninspired, boring, or derivative. There's not quite. I can't think of any movies that are very much like this.
And this is one of those movies where critics saw it one way, true fans of the game saw it one way, but the general viewing public saw it a totally different way. Street Fighter, critics said it was dog shit, but you know what? They made triple what it cost to create. They made $165 million on this movie. I'd say people liked it. Well, Street Fighter is a 1994 action film based on the video game series of the same name, starring Jean-Claude Van Damme and Raul Julia in his final theatrical appearance. The adaptation focuses on the efforts by Colonel Guile to bring down warlord General M. Bison. And James, much like you, my entry to Street Fighter was from the game, and this took me right back to being 14. I was never very good at fighting games, but my friends and I, it didn't matter if you were good. We spent hours at the arcade and on the Sega Genesis playing Street Fighter. So naturally, when this movie came out in 1994, we got it on home video. At the time, I didn't realize it was silly. I just appreciated it for bringing one of my favorite games to life. And again, if you think about the color scheme, the pacing, the way these characters were portrayed for a teenager in 1994, this is gold.
See, but there's two different parts of this. Like, I was thinking, how was I not more into this game? The movie seems to have come out much later than it was released into the arcades and into the home consoles. So there's a gap there. So for me, I'm old. I'm so old. I can remember the first time we walked into the Ground Round in Mamaroneck, which later became the Applebee's. It was the type of place you'd order a burger and they had peanuts. You would shell them and just throw them on the floor. It was a disaster, but it was also the greatest like local restaurant. It was a chain, I believe, but we walk in and there is the first cabinet game I ever saw. It was the old school black and white Space Invaders. Yeah. I was hooked immediately.
Yeah.
It was like something people, what is this thing? And you sit and you'd watch, and then you'd have to ask for a quarter from your parents. A quarter back then was a lot of money, considering you burn through them pretty quick. But as a kid, growing up at this time, you had your bikes, you had the local river where you go down and play, and you had the arcade. It could be either like a big arcade, like we had Cook's, which was an ice cream parlor, and in the back, they had 2 rooms with all the game cabinets. Or you could be the local pizzerias. Famously, Sal's Pizza did not, but the other 2 in our town had 1 or 2 consoles or 1 or 2 cabinets. And my favorites, Spy Hunter, Joust, Tron.
Too complicated.
And Dig Dug.
Hell yeah.
These were the ones that I really liked. I also liked the Star Wars, the X-Wing, where you
That was a
attack
good
the
one
Death
with the
Star.
voices and stuff.
Oh, the music, it got you into it. And even though the graphics were just like those,
Vector. Yeah.
all the vectors, all like the geometric shapes, it was still great. But the fighting games, I never really got into. I always did like the scrolling ones where you would run along as a team and you would fight. Maybe it was just because I wasn't very good. I Street Fighter, unfortunately, I never tried to play it because I would usually get my ass kicked. Just like Mortal Kombat, people were busting out the finishing fatalities, or what was it, babyalities, when they would turn you into a baby and kill you. These games, unfortunately, I have no experience with.
Big D, you're absolutely right. This movie, Street Fighter, it came out after the original Street Fighter. It came out after Street Fighter 2. This was kind of bridging the gap between Street Fighter 2 and Street Fighter 3. So it was like 3 years after Street Fighter 2 had been released. But the cool thing about these arcade games at the time, again, it was the scarcity of them, right? You found an arcade cab in your town, you were playing the shit out of that arcade cabinet forever until something else. Most places had only 2 or 3, and you had to know kind of where they were to play what you wanted to play until sort of the larger arcades came around. I never really thought about the quarter thing, though. Now I get why my mom was so stingy about it. I got 1, maybe 2 games if we went out for pizza. That was like a good night.
Well, that's what led me to my first crime. I've mentioned it before.
Oh, yeah.
Around this time, I was hooked. I was an addict for Tron. I was a terrible addict, and the spiders would always get me, or the light cycle board. They were bad. So I noticed USA Today had just launched. It was the first like color newspaper. There was a box on 3 of the corners in town. And I don't know how I realized that, because it all works on the honor system. Take 1 paper, pay for it. But I realized if you reach behind inside the box, you could pull out the change drawer, because they hadn't locked them yet because it was so new. We lived an entire summer on stolen quarters from USA Today, and also stolen quarters from the fair that would come to town on the 4th of July. We would slide a wire hanger down the game with the quarter pusher. That was how we fed our habit gene. That was how we dealt with our addiction.
As a journalist who lost his job when the Chicago Sun-Times went bankrupt, I blame you.
In some small way, I think I must have played a part in it.
Butterfly effect.
Without me, we're in a different world, Gene.
Let's hit the trailer.
After 7 months of fighting, the civil war in Shadaloo may have reached the turning point. The capital has just fallen.
In December 1994, the forces of freedom will face a power-mad dictator in a struggle for the fate of the world.
To kick Bison's ass.
I don't think so. You'll have to do better than that.
Okay. Yeah! Now, who wants to go home and who wants to go with me?
In the fictional nation of Shadaloo, civil war occurs between the forces of General M. Bison and the allied nations led by Colonel William F. Guile. When Bison captures relief workers and holds them ransom, Guile vows to track Bison down and place him on trial. One hostage is Guile's friend, Sergeant Carlos Blanca, whom Bison decides to transform into an evil super soldier. Though Blanca is severely disfigured by the procedure, scientist Dr. DeHalsem secretly alters his cerebral programming to maintain a shred of humanity.
Okay, so I think to start this discussion, you've already led us down a path I want to investigate. You said a lot of different people viewed this film differently. Fans, critics, box office, video game enthusiasts. That's important because I start the movie off as someone with no background in Street Fighter, and I'm trying to think, who is this movie made for? I was expecting it to be more a straightforward film adaptation of them fighting, like Mortal Kombat, which I hated. It was just nonstop, ridiculous fighting in situations. It was bad. Here, I'm like, who is this movie for? If you're a big fan of the game, you're coming in, I want to see my characters, I want to see them fight. That doesn't happen. I want to see them out into the real world being tough. This is a fighting game. Instead, the characters are dropping one-liners. There's satire. There's silly sound effects. There's like he mentioned, the narration almost is like a carnival barker throughout the entire film. If you came wanting to see the fighting, you weren't happy. If you came as a fan of any part of the video game, you weren't happy. It was a weird mix. I don't know who it was made for. If it was just too many people, too many cooks trying to make too many people happy.
Yeah, Big D, if Mortal Kombat was the blood sport of 90s video game movies, you're just going to match people up and watch them fight, and then you have a loose story kind of around that. I think Street Fighter was the Rocky Horror Picture Show equivalent. Bison, that's Dr. Frankenfurter, right? He's having this big whole thing going on. He's super extravagant. Everybody who works around him is like, he's a little over the top, very fashionable, but also sadistic, right? Dahalsim, that's riffraff, right? He's working for Dr. Frankenfurter. He's working for Bison, but he really kind of despises him, but he's only there until the tables can be turned. Blanca, clearly Rocky, he's trying to make a man. He's got him in his little pod and he's building him out. He wants to reveal him to everybody. And then Guile is Brad. He's uptight. He's straightforward. He just wants to kind of get through things. The hostages are the Rocky Horror Picture Show party guests. Everything in this movie is screaming, campy, and silly. I'm surprised they didn't make it a musical. As you mentioned, Big D, the sound effects, the Wilhelm screams. They have a literal hostage pit that they keep calling the hostage pit. It's fabulous to the extreme. And I'm so proud of them here because they didn't say what most video game movies say, which is, what if Street Fighter happened in real life? What would that be like? Gritty. The filmmakers instead were like, what if real life was based on the world of Street Fighter and we got to see it brought to life?
Oh, it's so much more fun and so unexpected. And the movie delivers these weird comedic beats. There's an exploding truck that's rolling towards the tent. They see it on the TV. It's coming, and Zangief, or what's his name? Zagrif? How does he pronounce it? Zangief shouts, "Change the channel." The truck is coming into the tent to blow up, and he says, "Change the channel." Or later on, Chung-Li spits on him. Van Damme says, "You'll get dehydrated. Don't spit." Things like that. It's ridiculous. When Honda's getting slapped around, I didn't even know he was a character until later on that he had some superpowers. There's like this weird Hawaiian like luau, like the music. It's like when Bobby Brady found that haunted idol when the Bradys went to Hawaii. It's this luau sound effect. And then the filmmakers are like, listen, let's just see what sticks. So we're going to get now the only non-human fighter in the entire movie that I'm aware of. We might have some guys here with some mystical backgrounds, but we're going to now see the creation of Blanca. Do they take a serious approach, like get a serious doctor and some medical equipment, maybe do lightning or something? No. The scientists roll in these giant IV bags that look like 5 gallons of Mountain Berry Blast, Mountain Dew, or like Gatorade, and they're labeled in giant block letters, anabolic plasma, very dangerous. It's looking cheesy, and basically Blanca is the low-budget Captain America. But when we see Captain America and he's going to transform into the super soldier, he starts off as a big dude. He's muscular, he's strong. Then they got CGI to make the skinny, emaciated, I could never join the military version of Steve Rogers. Here, they do it the opposite. They keep showing on the screen that says 72% muscle increase achieved, 73. I'm like, bullshit. This dude, he doesn't look like he's worked out at all. They show him in the dark. He's supposed to be this crazy character I was waiting to meet, and they just don't even do it. What were you doing casting this guy?
They basically took, you mentioned Captain America. I was thinking of TVs like The Incredible Hulk, right? Now, Lou Ferrigno, he's a big dude. They forgot the big part, but they did paint him green, so they got that. And then they like slapped this big like Tina Turner wig on him, and they're like, yeah, good enough. He doesn't look particularly big, and when he gets out of that cage, he's not like shredding people limb from limb. He's just kind of throwing things around. He just looks sad.
He does. Maybe when you stop the process halfway, this is what you get. He's a half-baked character. But yeah, and I guess the way you turn this monster nice is just show him clips of Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King and kids
Dolphins.
playing.
Dolphins.
And dolphins. That's all you need. That would solve the world's problems, Gene. But this is balanced, this ridiculous character with the star of the show. I know Raul Julia we're going to talk about his performance, and he's a legitimate actor. This is a Van Damme movie. When you think of the film, you think of the cover, it is Van Damme. He is the only man in the 90s who could play this role. He's going to be an American, basically in the UN, and he's a commander. He's going to walk around in a blue beret. He's going to have his tight, multicolored fatigues. He's got a perfect tan. He's going to flip off the dictators on live TV. He is part soldier, part model. He is so perfect, and he is so funny. He's embracing this role. We talked about on our Predator podcast that he was the original Predator. They cast him inside the suit, and he eventually got fired because he was so difficult to work with that he thought the Predator should be doing like these roundhouse kicks and splits. Here, he seems to embrace it. He seems to have fun with it in a way that other action stars couldn't. For God's sake, he drives, it looks like some kind of armored personnel vehicle with these giant missiles on the side, busts through the wall like the Kool-Aid Man, and he screams, everyone's under arrest. Then it cuts to the Good Morning Vietnam version of Shadaloo with the announcements on the speaker. It is absurd. It's ridiculous. And it is working for me.
You mentioned that he looked like a fashion model, that he was perfectly tan and all that stuff. I think this is weird. Because normally, as we get older, you and I, we think everybody looks young in these movies. And this sounds ridiculous because Jean-Claude Van Damme was only like 34 years old when he made this movie. But he looked old to me. Like 30, that's pretty young. That should be prime action star, I guess. But the only thing I can think of is, I watched Bloodsport recently, and he was 28 in that. So maybe I was looking for because he looked like baby-faced Van Damme in Bloodsport. Do you think he looked old?
Well, he's got that hair.
Is it the Guile hair? Yeah.
He's got the Guile hair, but also I think maybe he lived a hard life, right?
Yeah,
he's in great shape. I think you're talking about in the face.
Yeah.
And he looks a little skinnier than he had in the past. So I don't know. I mean, he's giving it his all, so I couldn't even focus on that. He keeps flexing that American flag tattoo on his bicep, but then he's got that Belgian accent. So he's Belgian, right?
Yeah, he's the muscles from Brussels.
Yeah. So he was a brave man. He embraced it, went full force, and was not embarrassed that people were going to make fun of him. Can you imagine Steven Seagal doing something like this? Never.
Yeah, actually I could. Now, yeah, Steven Seagal would do anything.
No, but he would do it seriously. He would believe that he had the powers.
Yeah, he doesn't have a funny bone in his body. Important to note, during the filming of Street Fighter, according to reports, Van Damme was doing $10,000 of cocaine a week. So that put a little pep in his step.
The crazy thing is this. They were filming in Thailand. So that's probably $10,000 of the Thai price. He was probably doing 3 times that amount of coke.
Again, okay, I see the parallels already. I loved Highlander 2. I love Street Fighter.
Cocaine.
Go out of the United States and do a lot of cheap coke. I'll love your movie, whatever the hell it is. Well, con artists Ryu and Ken are caught attempting to swindle arms dealer Victor Sagat, who forces Ryu to fight his cage champion, Vega. But Guile bursts into the arena and arrests everyone present for violating a curfew. He recruits Ryu and Ken to help him by carrying a homing device, staging a prison escape, and faking Guile's death. News reporter Chun-Li, whose father was killed by Bison 20 years earlier, and her crew, including former sumo wrestler Honda and boxer Balrog, stumble across the plan. They attempt to assassinate Bison and Sagat at a party, but Ryu and Ken stop the assassination to maintain Bison's trust.
So if we have some true Street Fighter fans out there who are into the lore and came here for like some form of legitimate breakdown of this film. I don't want to disappoint you. Don't get mad at me. I don't know the characters. There's a huge, like that selection screen. Once you got to the third version of this game, there were so many characters. I didn't know what was going on. So here the movie starts. And I'm like, all right, I know Guile. I know Bison. I know Chung-Li. I'm knowing some of them. But it just continues, Gene. Oh, here's another character. Here's a cameraman who is actually a character. Oh, here's another cameraman, actually a character. Oh, the assistant? Oh, that's another character. There were so many characters that I could not keep track of who was just someone who worked in, let's just say, the secret base, or who was a legitimate character in the video game. There was no stop to explain us what are their powers, what do they do. I didn't know who was who. And as the movie kept going, there was more and more and more and more characters that I could not keep up with.
Yeah, I think the whole point, though, is that we're living in the world of Street Fighter. Like, so anybody could be a fighter. That's why Shadaloo's guards don't speak a real language. They just do gibberish like they're Sims. I think that's why two plumbers have to defeat whatever the fuck Bowser is to rescue a princess. It's video game logic. So it makes sense that in this world, anybody could be a Street Fighter.
But they should at least show some of the power, like DJ, the Jamaican guy, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, is his superpower that he is a fucking music DJ? That's what it is. He doesn't even carry around a turntable. I didn't know that he was like an actual fighter in the game. I just thought he was like the assistant.
Yeah, no, he's Jamaican kickboxer, but in this movie, he just does computers real good.
No, I think his character has some ability with music.
What?
I swear. I swear.
In the movie?
In our movie, no. No, but in the lore of the game. Yes, in the game. Okay, here it is. I've pulled it up for you. He's dancing. He's got some great moves. In the video game character in Street Fighter, first appearance in Street Fighter 2, Jamaican kickboxer who made enormous strides in fame in the world, not just for fighting, but for his world-famous musical skills, and he's a recording artist. Yeah. So his special powers had to do with music.
Right, but it'd be hard to fit him into the movie where he was just doing, what is he, like the DJ? Actually, that wouldn't work out. That wouldn't be too bad. If he was the DJ for Bisonopolis, he just played the music that kept everybody going. That would make sense. Like, he could do kind of like a Zoolander thing, right? He's just up there hypnotizing people or whatever. But
I secretly thought that's what was in the case that he was stealing. I thought it was his DJ equipment.
DJ equipment.
I really did.
See, you found it odd that there were so many characters in this. I found it odd that they were so obsessed with everybody having a job. You know, in most fighting movies, they're just like, they fight. But in this movie, they're like, okay, Guile, he's going to be a soldier. Okay, cool. That's pretty normal. Zangief, he works for Bison as a henchman. That's standard fare for an action movie. But then they're like, Chun-Li, what should we do here? She'll be a reporter. And then, as you mentioned, Balrog and Honda could be part of her news crew. Dalsim, let's make him a doctor who doesn't even fight in the movie. Ken and Ryu, they'll be con men. Sagat will be an arms dealer. It's an interesting choice because I don't think anyone ever asked while playing Street Fighter, what does Blanca do for a living? He's just Blanca. That's what he is. He's a fighter.
So you're saying there wasn't a big demand for this, Gene? There wasn't a big demand for the backstory of Ken and Ryu and Campy. There was nobody clamoring to know what motivated Vega.
And this is a pattern throughout the movie where they just make things a little bit too elaborate. Let's talk about this plan to find out where Bison is, okay? I get it. He's in a secret lair. Guile wants to use Ken and Ryu to get into Sagat's inner circle and use a homing beacon to find Bison's hideout. Makes sense. It's, again, pretty standard action fare. But then they come up with this plan, and I gotta question the safety of Guile's plan. He's like, all right, you're gonna fight off these guards, steal one of their guns. That gun's gonna have like blinks in it, basically. And then you're going to take the truck and drive through all of these guards and make a break. And you're going to have the homing beacon with you. And you're going to shoot at me so it looks like I died. And that way they'll think you're legit because you killed me. What he's not accounting for, there are literally dozens of AN troops who were clearly not briefed on the details. They're getting their asses kicked. They're getting kicked off of trucks. There's gunfire, trucks crashing through barriers, and people getting their asses beat left and right.
Dude, on top of that, he stands almost in front of the truck as the truck's being driven through the gate. But Gene, then also, let's take this a step further. He keeps this charade up for the next 12 hours until Chung-Li comes back into the morgue.
Fuck yeah.
He is still on the table with the squib. He's been playing dead, waiting for her to come back for 12 hours. That's dedication.
Dude, no, he wants that pussy.
Well, he would have taken off
long
the
games. He's playing the long game. No. He wants to show her that he can wait. Like A1 steak sauce.
So this is like a tantric thing. This is he's showing his ability.
It's not A1. It's Heinz ketchup. Whatever.
Yeah. No,
he's the Sting of AN officers. Well, Bison inducts Ryu and Ken into his organization and orders Honda and Balrog imprisoned and Chun-Li taken to his quarters. Ryu and Ken break Balrog and Honda out of confinement and rush to confront Bison, who is fighting Chun-Li. Bison escapes and releases sleeping gas, sedating them all. When a guard attacks Dalsim for altering Blanca's programming, Blanca is released and he kills the guard. Guile arrives and prepares to shoot Blanca to end his suffering, but Dalsim stops him.
This has to be a comedy. Comedy first, action second, to get these kids engaged, have fun with it. It wasn't there. I mean, none of the people have superpowers. Nobody's shooting fireballs. Nobody's doing any of the over-the-top supernatural things that I expected. And James mentioned about the narration. I spotted it at first when they're going to the big opened illegal arms bazaar market / county fair for warlords in Shadaloo. It's an open market where they're selling weapons, vehicles, munitions, chemical weapons, absolutely everything. But they structure it like it's a county fair or like it's a carnival. There's string lights. There's a barker announcing, hey, the next deal up here on these missiles and rocket launchers. It's as if they were going to have carnival games, people with cotton candy. It's over the top. And at this point, I said, shit, this is a different movie. This is a fun movie. It's supposed to be enjoyable. It's giving us answers to questions we didn't know we wanted. And it felt almost like The Naked Gun, like the nothing to see here. It's winking at us and saying, have fun, get into it. Nothing in this film is grounded.
Yes, like fun was the order of the day. They even made the pit fighting fun, right? There was a decision there. We could have Vega, who, by the way, in the movie is like one of the most insidious looking characters, right? He's got the big claws. He's got like the mask. You don't know what he looks like. And they're like, what if we took Vega and made him this handsome heartthrob? And also, by the way, he wants to fight fair. When they're like, no weapons, he's like, cool, no weapons. He pushes the weapons aside. He is the people's champion. He is beloved. It was a hilarious subversion of expectations, and they just kept finding ways to one-up the fun. And Big D, you mentioned that it was comedy first. I'll be the first to say that the martial arts in this film are lacking. But clearly, the studio decided to invest in other areas. Instead of finding a bunch of bland actors who could really fight, James pointed this out. Street Fighter went with some wacky personalities, and they hid the fighting behind a series of close-up shots and explosions. You referenced The Naked Gun, right? That type of fighting where the fist or the foot is coming from off screen and people's heads are just snapping back. Throw in a couple explosions. That gave them the opportunity to cast Raul Julia, who I'm sure does not know martial arts, Kylie Minogue, who I'm sure does not know martial arts, and others who have no business in an action movie. I do wish they'd given Zangief more action scenes. I thought he was great, just like you did, because Andrew Biernarsky, the guy who played Zangief, you got a former pro wrestler right there who also happens to be funny.
Dude, he put in the time.
Oh yeah.
He looked like the character. A lot of them did. When I went back and looked at it, even Honda, like he looks like the character when he puts his hair up and he has the little like the makeup on his face. They look like the characters. And it was such a smart choice. You couldn't make this same film with fighters who couldn't act. So they went the other way. Hey, shoot it really close. Nobody's going to question it. And all of the actors are winking at the camera. They're having fun. But the one actor they got, we have to talk about Raul Julia. You know him from The Addams Family. Been in a lot of great movies, a great actor, very serious. And he treats Bison like it's Shakespeare. He is giving his speeches with passion. And what just kept coming back to me was, have we seen another quality actor take on a ridiculous role as a supervillain and embrace it. And it was Frank Langella's Skeletor. Frank Langella went into Masters of the Universe thinking it was going to be a very serious, very different film. And the man's acting his ass off. It comes out of left field. Everyone else is being campy and silly, and he is delivering it. There's passion. He's I'm going to go out with style. Every line he is delivered with passion, purpose. It's the right amount of like that villainous flair where somebody's a bit flamboyant with his whole outfit and his cape and his hat and his beautiful ensemble, but it is madness. It's working, and he makes the film grounded, because if everybody was like the rest of these guys, it just wouldn't be the same.
Yeah, we got a little Skeletor. We got a little Ming the Merciless in there. Absolutely fantastic. He 100% understood the assignment.
And they invest in these little moments that are just, you could tell someone cared. Someone was paying attention. If it was somebody in the script, some of the lines. But I kept picking up the little details. Normally in the background, you'll see like if someone's reading a newspaper, it's complete gibberish. Here, they're paying attention to the tiniest details. When Honda and then were sneaking into the compound, and they're in that like surveillance van / news van, up on the dashboard, you see, like conveniently aiming at the camera, it says, Shadaloo on $25 a day, written by Arturo Romo. It's a travel guide. Of course they would have a travel guide on the top of their van dashboard. When Bison is preparing to seduce Chung-Li and his little seduction throne, he's changing costumes, his romance lair. He's got chandelier that is made of individual human bones. Why? Was it necessary? It's in the shot for 2 seconds, but I noticed it and I appreciated it. He's putting on his little robe in the corner, and I look, and Bison has got an easel, paints, and a full-blown self-portrait. Is it a caricature of himself, like in some kind of brave pose? No, his is in the style of John Wayne Gacy, the serial killing clown. It looks identical. It's barely in the shot for more than a couple seconds. And this madness, somebody, whether it was some one rogue assistant, somebody was paying attention.
This movie, as far as I can tell, was super old school in its set pieces, right? They cast aside minimal CGI, and compare that. This is 94. Remember Mortal Kombat Annihilation? That was 97. So we're talking 3 years apart, right? And they were like, oh, we're going to have dragons and all kinds of bullshit. And it looked fucking laughable. It looked terrible. Remember Reptile? My God, real bad. But in Street Fighter, they're like, no. Let's have the explosions be explosions. Let's have the costumes be costumes. Let's build out this world of things around all of our characters. And it 100% works. One criticism I do have, however, was the AN's raid on Bison's hideout. And listeners, if you're unfamiliar with stealth technology or naval mines, I'd like to take a moment to say Street Fighter should not be considered a documentary on how either of those things work. Stealth ships, as the name implies, those are boats that attempt to avoid detection by any of the means that you would normally see a ship coming. So radar, infrared, sound, visual sensors, okay? They minimize their signature on all those detection methods so that they don't get detected on their way in. They do not go invisible, okay? They don't have cloaking devices. Naval mines, they are contact mines or proximity mines, okay? They float around until something hits them or gets near them. They don't need to be triggered from buoys to explode. Otherwise, you don't need the mine. It is a passive countermeasure, okay? I don't know why Street Fighter decided to make shit up. Like, it was plenty exciting already. It didn't help the film that Bison's sitting there jamming a button to make mines drop, or that the boat goes invisible for a couple seconds while it's firing its minigun. I don't know. Could have left that out.
Well, I'll answer the one question. So, because I think somebody would probably write in. The mines, they purposely had them really low in the water. So normal ships would go over them. He hit the button to release the chain so they would float up and then be hit by the self-jet coming up. So that was that reason.
He doesn't have a guy to do that?
No, but here's another thing. Radar works great in big open spaces. You can get airplanes because there's nothing else there. Out on the open ocean, you could find ships because they're above the surface. They don't work on a river that's named like the Snake. where you couldn't be able to shoot the radar more than 10 feet in front of you. But whatever, man. I didn't expect it. It was a plus in my book. I was just expecting lasers. They need lasers instead of those Gatling lasers. Guns. But either way, that's when Van Damme got the girl. I think it was at this moment.
Well, Bison prepares to kill the hostages by unleashing Blanca on them, but Guile battles Bison's guards until the remaining AN forces arrive. After Bison makes it clear that he will not surrender peacefully, Guile orders his allies to rescue the hostages, and he engages Bison in a personal duel. As Guile and Bison fight, Ryu and Ken defeat Sagat and Vega, while Bison's computer expert, DJ, who is not a DJ, flees through the secret passage, joined by Sagat. Bison's bodyguard Zangief engages Honda in a fight until he learns from DJ that Bison is a bad guy. He then sides with Ryu and Ken to save the hostages.
There's a lot going on here. And as somebody who doesn't know the characters, I'm I'm kind of like, you remember those visual, like it was like a series of dots, Gene, and if you let your eyes relax, you could see something that popped out of them. It could be an object.
Sailboat.
I tried to treat this film the same way. I tried to just sit back, let my eyes cross over a little bit and just pay attention to what's going on. Because the movie turns into the unexpected. I thought before it was more like The Naked Gun. It turns into a full-blown Austin Powers, bad guy lair, take over the world, ridiculous plan, and assault on a compound that I've ever seen. Bison's master plan, when he reveals it, I'm thinking, what kind of devilish, this man must torture people. He has a prisoner pit. What terrible things does he want to do? His goal is to create the city of Bisonopolis. It's going to be a mega city. He wants his own currency with his face on it. He wants his own police. But the most important thing, Gene, is he wants a large food court. And the food court should have a vast assortment of the world's biggest franchises. This is his plan. It's not like $1 million or sharks with lasers or setting up your hidden lair in a volcano. This shit is Austin Powers. Yes, he wants $20 billion. It's a little bit higher. But when he has that little mock-up of the actual city with the franchises and the restaurants and the food court, and then two characters fight on it as they play Godzilla music in the background and sound effects, this shit is Austin Powers with fighting.
It's so extra. I love that Bison invented Bisonopolis and he had his Bison bucks. Like he has his own currency that he tries to pay people with. Like this will be worth a lot once I kidnap the Queen of England. His island fortress, it's something out of like Indiana Jones. They've got like these weird tunnels and like things you have to go through. And I'm going to say it again. He has a hostage pit. Bison is great, but did you happen to notice anything strange about the AN forces? Like other than the fact that they were incredibly trigger happy for a peacekeeping force?
Oh, they were fashionable. They were more fashionable than I expected.
What about the guys themselves?
I did notice that they really went into detail trying to pair up flags and the people they cast. But it was an interesting peacekeeping force that seems to want to fight a lot.
Yeah, I don't know if it was a cost-cutting decision or somebody in this movie had a bone to pick with the UN, because the peacekeepers, which is what the AN troops are, basically, they're UN peacekeepers, are the blue berets, the blue helmets. Looking at their faces and their bodies and everything, it's not like they went to central casting like, we need 500 soldiers, right? Everybody looked old or super skinny or super ugly or like a combination of three. Nobody here looked like they were prepared for a fight.
See, I don't think they're making a negative comment on them. I mean, that's what the military looks like. If anything, that was the most realistic casting. But I noticed how they gave like the really blonde guys, they'd have the Swedish flag.
Oh, yeah.
And then you had a bunch of different, you're like, okay, they look British until we got to the few Israelis. They cast what looked like a Middle Eastern guy and 3 black guys. It seemed like the one odd casting that I went back and looked at it. I'm like, really? The Japanese guys were definitely Japanese. And then we get to the Israelis. It was an interesting force, but they weren't peacekeepers. These guys were going to rain down fire on anybody. Until the politicians get involved. Then they tell them to pack up. And does Guile want to do that? Fuck no. He tells them, Who wants to go home and who wants to come with me? His patent speech got me, Gene. I'm getting on my watercraft and I'm heading upriver.
Guile gains the upper hand against Bison and electrocutes him, but a revival system restores Bison. Using electrical weaponry in his suit, Bison gains the upper hand and moves to deal a death blow. Guile counters by kicking Bison into his monitor wall, which explodes, apparently killing him and overloading the base's energy storage system. The hostages are rescued, but Guile stays behind to convince Dalsim and Blanca to return with him. Failing, Guile flees the exploding base and reunites with his comrades. In a post-credits scene, Bison's fist emerges through the rubble of his ruined base.
So one of the things I like about this film and the way that they tackle the nature of characters created for a video game that fight, trying to bring them into the real world, this movie doesn't hide what it was. So many movies try to build a world that explains away how the characters in the game exist. This movie doesn't even attempt. They just lean into it. They reference the game themselves. They reference, you get early on when the girl gets put into the barrel. They put a lid on it. It's a Capcom label. So they're already acknowledging Capcom, the maker of the game. There's Bison, who's literally flying around on what looks like some kind of like Dave and Buster's chariot with a video game console in front of him. He's got the joystick, the 6 buttons. He's using this to control his forces. He plays almost like we see a video game version of Guile in the stealth boat driving, and he's using the joystick to set off the weapons. It's genius. They're addressing it open. This is a video game movie. Don't think about him controlling his forces from a video game console. Just have fun.
Yeah, if you look at the movie poster, it looks like a video game topper. And then in the end, when Bison's lair explodes, I love that all the characters just flash into a pose. Bam! Street Fighter logo right on the screen. It's absolutely beautiful. They knew what they were doing, and this movie kicks ass.
And Gene, they closed it out. Besides, I know you like the ensemble at the end, where you get all the cast on screen. You think Van Damme has gotten Campy. And he says, "Are you crying?" She goes, "No, it's the tear gas." Then we get the pose.
Bam!
Yeah, perfect ending.
Well, now's the time in the podcast where we share our Shat score for Street Fighter. The Shat score is our way of telling you how many wipes this movie takes to get off your respective butts. 0 wipes is a perfect movie. It's living in the loving grip of the Pax Bisonica. And 5 wipes is an absolute disaster of a movie. It's when your ass is 6 months overdue and belongs to Jean-Claude Van Damme. Big D, we'll start with you. What's your score for Street Fighter?
Gene, I surprisingly like this film. It was fun. I like it even more now after talking about it. I want a sequel to this film where there's no fighting. It's all of these characters older, and we get to see how their life panned out. Like, I want to know what happened with Bison. What happened with these characters? Did they go back? What did they do in there? Because we know so much about their personal life, Gene. I think it'd be interesting.
Well, I got some bad news about Bison.
No. Okay. I know he's dead now, but for me, I think it was fun. It did everything right that Mortal Kombat got wrong. Mortal Kombat tried to be serious. It tried to push the visuals instead of embracing the ludicrous nature that they could have done with the characters. Imagine Baraka being made by this crew. That would be so great. It was fun. I think I can't go 2 wipes, but I think 2.25 is fair. It's better than average.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Big D, at 2.25 wipes. I thought it was weird that a movie like this, Street Fighter, was an hour and 45 minutes long. Like, this should be 90 minutes tops. It did run a little bit long. The other gripe I have, Chun-Li. What's her favorite thing about Chun-Li? She's thick. She's got big old legs. I wanted a thick Chun-Li. Didn't get a thick Chun-Li. Very disappointed in my non-thick Chun-Li.
See, I didn't know she was thick, so I was...
Oh, dude, Google Chun-Li. Look at her legs. They're fucking massive.
In the game?
Yeah. As a man married to a Brazilian.
My goodness.
Look at those getaway sticks.
My goodness. Those will crush a man.
Right?
Is that her superpower? Can she, like, squeeze you?
She does a machine gun kick. Ba, 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 ba. You know, she stands on one leg and then just, like, kicks like a fucking machine gun. That's, like, her big thing.
That must have disappointed people.
Yeah.
They didn't care too much about the green-haired Hulk. They wanted to see this.
Yeah.
Oh, I might have to change my score.
No, I like when it's a rare chance for us to be unanimous on a film. I say we stick with it. 2.25 wipes for Street Fighter.
Okay, Gene, with a very respectable score of 2.25 wipes. That now ties this in the 189 spot. I don't know what you're going to say. The final countdown makes sense. Halloween Season of the Witch, I'm okay. But
Makes
then
sense.
Also Liar, Liar, Clerks, and True Romance.
Yeah. I feel like True Romance in my head is better than this, but I was there for it. So
I hated Clerks, so I tanked that one.
I don't think I liked Clerks very much.
Liar, Liar, you didn't like that one, so.
That's one of those Jim Carreys that I don't like. Every time they put Jim Carrey with a kid, right. I'm not a fan.
Right. But yeah, I mean, this is fun.
Yeah.
I would definitely watch this again, and I wish they had a crowd participation like Rocky Horror Picture Show. It would be so much fun.
All right. Well, James, I hope you're satisfied with the score, and don't doubt the movies you love. As you can see, sometimes we love them too. Before we close out, we do have voicemail to get to. The first one comes from Sky in Australia.
Hi guys, it's Sky here from Perth in WA. A long-time listener that has got me through so many crazy things in my life, particularly just long dog walks. Every time I go and look at commissioning a movie, I check your calendar and someone else has already done it or it's on the schedule. But there are so many terrible 80s and 90s Australian movies you haven't gone near yet, and great movies that I might have to go through and like commission one, because I just feel like you need to do more terrible Australian films. There's like Spotwood, which is like Anthony Hopkins and then this random Australian cast. So I feel like you just need to focus on a few Aussie movies a bit more. But other than that, I'm kidding. Other than that, I love everything about it. I'm a millennial, just 81 baby, and I grew up watching a lot of movies, and it's just, you guys are so funny, and I love everything about it. It's one of my favorite podcasts, definitely.
Thank you, Sky, for your kind words. One of the ways I know that we should keep doing what it is that we're doing is voicemail like this and email that we get that's so supportive. Another indicator is I listen to us when I walk my dogs, and when I stop laughing at the podcast while I'm listening to it while walking the dogs, then I'll know that we should probably hang up our microphones, because we're just not doing good work. But as it pertains to Australian film, I've been on the podcast before saying I'm not a big connoisseur. Australian films that we've watched, I think other than The Road Warrior, I haven't been terribly fond of, but I really want to change that perception. I really want to get myself educated on good films. So I appreciate the recommendations. I do know that Australia has been putting out some really good horror films lately that I have not checked out, like Bring Her Back. And so that's another venue I might want to explore, because I tend to like horror films that come from abroad better than domestic ones. But Anthony Hopkins with a bunch of random Aussies sounds great to me.
Gene, I was also thinking of another classic Australian film we reviewed. I don't think you were on it, though. Muriel's Wedding.
I was not on that one.
Oh, she was a monster. Muriel.
Yeah, I remember you were not a
monster.
fan of her.
No, she is.
No.
She's a terrible person, and I need to know what the Australians think of her. But Crocodile Dundee, another great Australian film, and yeah, I'm open to it. People are fun. We also did Priscilla, Queen of the Desert.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of fun things down there. They got to get down there. I think the hotter the climate, generally the people are more open, warm, and funnier. The Australians are pretty funny.
And I just realized next week's movie, Australian movie.
It is, Gene. It's almost like we planned this, but we didn't. We didn't. It just seemed.
See, when you say
happen.
It's almost like we did, then people think we did.
But we didn't.
This
Schedule's been out there.
Yeah.
This commission was placed a year ago by Mark C. So no, it just happened. It's serendipity, Gene. It's the way it was meant to be. We get the phone call about Australian films, and then a film is due next week. It's meant to happen, people. Next week, Archie and Frank are two young Australian sprinters who want to join the army to fulfill their sense of duty. Turned down because they're too young, the pair hop a freight train to Perth, where they are allowed to join up. They board a troop ship headed for Cairo, and after training in the shadows of the Great Pyramid, the boys are finally sent to the front line, where their speed makes them candidates for messengers in one of the world's bloodiest battles. Commissioned by Max C, came out in 1981. And Gene, I've never seen this film, but now that I've read the description, I'm interested.
I had to watch it in school. And another connection, which we did not plan, is that the guys are from Perth, which is where Sky is from. So Sky, look at that. It's meant to be.
And I think Sky should finally pull the trigger, commission an Australian film.
Well, thank you, Mac, for commissioning our upcoming film. Thank you, James, for commissioning Street Fighter. Thank you to all our commissioners who make this podcast possible. That concludes this week's episode of Shat the Movies. Be sure to follow us on social media and share with a friend. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, and Instagram at Shat the Movies. You can email us, host@shatpod.com. Also, go to our website, shatpod.com, and use the SpeakPipe feature to leave us a voicemail. You can support the podcast by shopping our Amazon affiliate link, buying our merch, or by commissioning your own movie. Find all information by visiting our website, shatpod.com. Also, check out our sister podcast, Shat on TV. Review TV series such as Lovecraft Country, Westworld, True Detective, Taboo, American Gods, Game of Thrones, and Watchmen. Find all information on our website, shatpod.com/TV, where everywhere fine podcasts can be found, including Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, and YouTube. Be sure to subscribe, and if you stop by Apple Podcasts, please leave a 5-star review. It helps the podcast grow. On behalf of my co-host, Big D, I'm Gene Lyons. Join us next week for the following movie.
Not our bloody war. What do you mean, not our war? It's an English war. It's got nothing to do with it.
Be ashamed of myself if I didn't fight.
Well, that only proves one thing, that you and I are different.
You thinking of joining?
The Light Horse. Now, that's got a bit of class.
Woo! We could join together. See you when I see you.
Yeah.
From a place you may never have heard of comes a story you will never forget. Peter Weir's film of Gallipoli.
Who wants to go home and who wants to come with me?